So this is kind of something we're going to make today. If you've seen on the backs of cars, you have things that look like this, window stickers. They have names. They usually have like a softball team will have a softball, the name above, team name up and top, stuff like that. That's kind of what we're going to work on today. So what I'd like you to do is go think of something you'd like to create a vinyl decal for. So when we create it, we're actually going to create it so it's a little bit smaller size than what this thing is. I just created this one on the background, whatever the size of the document was. But what I'd like you to do is think about a picture. It's not going to be a huge like collaboration of pictures. You're not going to do a lot of things together. But when you're finding these, I want you to find something that's going to stand out a little bit. You see. So this is the one that I found that I used for this picture right there. Okay, just a little baby horse. So what I'd like you to do is go out and find a picture. I'm going to do the same one I already did, but if you want to find one that is for a sports team or a club or an activity or whatever you want. I've had some of the people I've created these things for, like baseball bats. So we can find one baseball bat and then cross them, and then add some decoration on it afterwards. Maybe I'll do that as well. I'll do a softball or baseball one. And when you get here to, you save your pictures, you come back into Adobe Illustrator. We're going to open up the file that you just saved. Whoa, that's huge. When you get your picture in here, you can use one of the direct selection arrows up here at the top, or the selection tools up at the top. If you click on this, you can grab a corner, and if I shrink it down this way, it's going to not be proportional, but if I hold the shift key, it's going to keep it in the same proportions. If I do shift and option together, it's going to shrink from all corners into the middle. So it does it a lot faster than trying to shrink it down and then drag it over and shrink it down again and drag it over. You can just click shift option, and now I can bring it right in here to the picture. And we're going to do some destructive editing to this, which is nice. You could take it into Photoshop. You could trace around it and use it that way. You could use the pen tool right now and trace around your object, whatever it is. You could trace around very quickly now that you have good skills with the pen tool. Totally up to you. This time I actually want us to look at an effect up here on the toolbar. It says effect. When I click on that, there's a lot of stuff on there. We're going to go down to where it says Effect Gallery down at the bottom. So I'm clicking on Effect up at the top. I'm going to go down to the Gallery. It says Photoshop Effects. There's a zoom. If you can't see your picture, down here in the bottom left-hand corner is a zoom window that you can zoom in or out. And you can see right now I have the colored pencil selected, and so it's going through and coloring this. So it looks like it was colored with a colored pencil. I don't want that one. The one I'm going to look for is not under artistic. It is underneath the sketch setting. And the one that I'd like to use is the stamp tool. And the stamp tool is going to do something like this, where it does a very black and white option. And I have a couple of sliders here that will allow me to adjust my light-dark balance. You can slide these sliders around, and eventually you should end up with a black horse or something a little bit better. I might bring the smoothness up a little bit, smooth it out, make the edges a little bit softer. The nice thing is we have access with a pen tool after this that we can go through and edit all of the parts that are sticking out, some of the artifacts that are on there, and also the locations that have some white on the inside here. I can go edit those at a later time. right there. So this is, I kind of like this one. If you look at the outline around the horse, it looks pretty good. I don't necessarily want all this white artifact on the inside, and I'm going to remove that in just a bit. But I like how it does the outline there. I can make some adjustments using the pen tool. I can add the hooves back down here to make them a little bit, or I can smooth out the tail here in a little bit. That'll make it look a little bit better as well. So I'm going to stick with this one and click OK. And then all of a sudden, it makes that stamp happen to my horse. Boom. There it is. So basically what we're looking for is this outline. I have a lot of extra stuff on here. You can see that the entire picture is still attached. This is one way of doing it. There are a couple different ways of creating images like this. I like the stamp look because it... So after I do the stamp, I'm going to go back up here, and if I go to Objects, blah, 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 I can't talk. Object, and then down to Image Trace, and then there's an option there called Make and Expand. Let me zoom in on that again. So I have Image Trace, and then Make and Expand. When I click on that, it's going to trace this image, and when it finishes, you're going to see a lot of blue lines. Don't click off of it. So you have your image. We did the stamp tool. I did Object, Image Trace, Make and Expand. And then what I want to do after that is Ungroup, which is going to take everything and make it individually selectable. Everything gets individually selectable. So I can click on this white, and I can press Delete. And now that white, it's still white, but it doesn't exist. That was a white color, and now that doesn't exist anymore. I can't click on that one. I can select all of these things on this side, and you see that it actually selects part of the horse too, so I don't want to select everything there because this black is also the horse. I haven't cut that off. Underneath the scissors, eraser, scissors, knife. You can zoom in on, and you can actually draw a line across someplace, and it'll cut that piece. And then when you click on the part you don't want to keep and hit delete, it disappears. I just sliced the horse's legs off. It happens. Really, if I wanted to, I could come back through here. I could draw. Nah, wrong one. Use the knife tool and come down and give him some hooves there and do the same thing over here. And then click on it. Make that part go away. I didn't do anything that way. And then basically you want to select any of the extra artifacts that are still included. There's a piece up here across the top of mine that I'm going to have to cut off as well. So I don't want that in there. And you can see as you move, well, I guess I didn't get his feet there. Oh well, I'll just get those gone later. I'm just moving the part I want to keep and then selecting around with the selection tool and deleting anything that glows, anything that lights up there, because I don't want to keep that stuff. And then once I get that done, I want to look at inside my object here. I have a spot here where there's an open part. I could use the pen tool and fill that back in. modify that. Here we go. Select it. I can go through and just erase these anchor points. Smooth it out that way. I could adjust all the anchor points if I wanted to as well. So if you had, if I left some of this white on here, like on the inside, let me put some of those back now. So if I have some of these like white spots on the inside, it would actually cut those out of the picture. If I'm looking for just the outline of the object, I want to make sure that anything on the inside is not included with this. If you have, like I see the flamingo there, black and white flamingo, perfect. It's going to trace around the outside. You don't necessarily have to have an eye or any kind of things, but if you did want to add something to that, you could add like an eye or whatever and color that in and then make that part of your object as well. And it would actually, it would take this outline and then would also cut out the inside right there. In a tank, just the outline of the tank would be pretty cool, but if you have some of the details on the inside and you leave those as white or whatever the background would be, then those would be cut out of the tank. And you'd have to do a lot of what they call weeding or pulling out the extra pieces. But for the most part, it allows you to add more detail to a picture. And then once you have something that looks fairly decent, the line tool, come over to the start of your object, whatever it is, and hold the shift key so you make sure you have a nice straight line as far over as you need it to be. And then you just have to change the stroke. The stroke in this case is going to be black, and I'm going to increase it until it's to a point that I think it looks nice. Like that. And then you'll notice that the edge of this thing is really sharp. There's a really sharp edge around the corner. If I want those sharp edges to be rounded, we have a stroke menu. When I click on stroke, it's going to open up these options someplace on your screen. And what this is going to allow us to do is change, let me see if I can get it here so I can, too far, there we go. I can see this thing on the edge. The cap is the edge of whatever that line is or whatever the option is there. If I click on a rounded cap, whoops, I have not that one selected. There we go. So this one has a square cap, a butt cap. I'm doing a round cap. It's going to round out that edge, round out that end. If I do a projecting cap, it's actually going to go just a little bit farther than the end of the anchor point. But I think the round edge looks kind of nice on this. So that's what I'm going to do there. And that's in the stroke menu. And then I could copy this and paste it again, and then use the arrow keys or the shift arrow or the mouse to line it back up. So it's exactly on top of the other one, and then move it down to a point where it looks decent. And then just like we did the other day where we had text, with a type tool, I could click in here. It's going to place our text as that Latin filler text again, but I might type a last name and then use the properties tab, and you have the character information, kind of like we did with the rounded logo the other day. You have the character, and I could change the size of that font so that it's bigger. You'll see it starting encroaching over here, hopefully. Whoops, I forgot to select the text first. There we go. Delete, escape, delete, go away. I don't want that one. I want this one. Move it down so it's in the middle someplace. Hide that text again. So it's filled nicely within those two lines. And then you also have the font style. So I might have made my font a little bit too big, only because I'm going to run out of space if I change it to something different. Some of the fonts that they have default, you guys should have these as well. There's some capital letter fonts. There's Bodoni Old Style, Small Cap. Those are capital ones. You have the Charlemagne Courier. Has some decent capital letters. Copperplate is that almost looks like a varsity style letter. There's some other ones down here too you can find. But you just go through until you find one that looks nice. There's like this one right here, Papyrus. Let me zoom in on it so you can see what it looks like. Probably not the best because it has too much like cutout inside the text itself, and it would be very difficult for any kind of a cutter, or if you're using this to draw with, it'd be very difficult to draw the outline just because it has so many of these cuts and gashes into the letters and stuff. Let me zoom back out. So I might stick with the old style capitals. Not those. Where's the copper plate? There we go. I think that one looks nice. And then because it's so small now, I could take that font style or the font size and bring it up a little bit more. And then it starts to fit inside of the letters there. Maybe I have to lower this down a little bit so it fits where I need it to go. Maybe raise this up towards the top by itself, but I could put this in the middle someplace. If I wanted this to be smaller, I could shrink it down. We kind of looked at the ability to adjust the baseline the other day, but we didn't look at the other font changes, font options here. So with the text selected, I can adjust the spacing between the letters. There's a V. It says VA, and when you hover over top of it, come on, there it is. Set the tracking for selected letters, how close they are together. So I do that tracking option. You can see how it's smushing the letters together, pulls them together a little bit closer. Get them too close. Can't figure out what it says. Some options on there to space it out or shrink them down.